Good afternoon, or good afternoon. Yeah, I'm sitting in the garage, so that's maybe easy to mess that up. Good, but good evening, everybody. I'm Derek Michaud. It's time to go flush in the pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com. We got a great guest tonight. Before we get to that, Kyle Troop is making a statement, and he is collecting his second title, or he collected his second title, and Indiana over AJ Tackett this past Saturday. The Delaware Classic is going on right now, and check out those standings at pba.com. So tonight we got a PBA regional player and a really good guy, very nice guy. He sent me a few shirts, and I appreciate it. He's PBA regional guy Jerry Mars coming on to the show. Jerry, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So thank you so much for doing this. And
No problem.
let me get the questions here, and we're gonna get started. Let me just say that if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then we will get started. But the first question, of course, is how did you get started with bowling, Jerry?
My grandmother managed a little 12-lane bowling center, which was a bowling alley slash restaurant slash bar slash banquet hall. And my mom worked as a waitress there full time, and my dad worked for a company making windows. And there was no daycare for me. It was just basically put me in the bowling center, turn a lane on, and I stayed busy for basically the whole time I was there.
Awesome. Now, do you like the small centers or do you prefer the bigger ones?
Doesn't really matter to me. I like the smaller centers, uh, just for being small town stuff like that. We've got a little 12-lane center out here called Huntley Bull High. Uh, Most of the centers out here are either 24 or 32, 36 lanes. We do have a Bolero big box center that's 38 lanes, right like 2 blocks away from my house.
Okay.
So we have a
Who?
variety of centers.
Nice. And you're out of Chicago, is that correct?
I'm a northwest suburb out of Chicago, about an hour to the city, about an hour to the Illinois-Wisconsin border, going
Yeah,
up through Rockford.
that is definitely a hotbed for
Yeah,
bowling. Who coached you?
my grandmother.
Oh,
My
okay.
grandmother, she was the junior league coordinator for Saturday mornings. We bowled at Massey's. When Massey's closed down, she went to Liberty Lanes in Carpentersville. She was there for a couple of years, and then she went to another bowling center called Algonquin Lanes. And that went through the hands of quite a few people for owners, one of them being Lori Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori helped me. Her dad helped me. There was a guy in the pro shop, Paul Slawicki, who helped coach me. So I had a lot of help with a lot of people who were very knowledgeable of the game. And they pretty much got me started, wanting to bowl competitively, and talking to Lori. She was one of the people that got me to want to be a professional.
That is awesome. How old were you when you started to get good? When you started to post like 200 average and shooting those honor scores and stuff?
Probably about 14, 15 years old. I was on the Junior Travel League for Elgin, Illinois, which is the bowling association that was out here. That's now called the Windy City Suburban League. Um, they're all the centers that were a part of that association basically had a travel league for the juniors. Your top 5 kids in average. Uh, they basically went every Sunday morning traveling to the different centers, and you got to bowl 3 games like league style, and they gave the trophies to the center that won.
That is awesome. So how old were you when you shot your first 300, I guess?
I actually have something in common with Pete Weber, because Pete Weber shot a 300 his first game in a men's league, USB or ABC sanctioned league,
Right.
And my first 300 was my very first ABC sanctioned game. It was at Woodfield Lanes, and it was on 17 and 18.
Mhm.
I remember that place like it was still there.
That's awesome. So were you super nervous when you were? I mean, I've never been in that situation, but I feel like I would be almost scared to death to pry it off.
I wasn't so much nervous. I was more excited than anything.
Okay.
The funny part about me shooting my first 300 in the first game, my second game was a 129, and my third game was 164.
Okay.
I was
Oh.
too amped up for shooting 300, and kind of just fell apart, and it was fun times.
Wow. That is awesome. So let's see. Somebody wants to know how do you approach tournaments based on conditions being used? Sport versus house.
A lot of the times I look at the graph. I see how long the pattern is going to be, see how many mills, and then I go from there, decide which equipment that I'm going to throw. A lot of the times it also has to do with the ratio of the pattern too. If it's a harder pattern, then I'll probably bring a couple other different bowling balls, or I might bring a couple extra bowling balls.
Now, do you fly to any tournaments or do you just drive mostly?
In the Midwest, the way I look at it is if I can make the drive in less than 10 hours, I'm going to drive.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's some tournaments that I'll drive a little bit further. I'm actually going to the Masters this year in Vegas. Was contemplating on driving just because of the simple fact is airfare right now for you to go like from Chicago to O'Hare was going to cost $700, and the flight back was going to cost like $350. So it was going to be about $1,000 just to fly to Vegas. And I told my wife, I said, I'm really contemplating on renting a car and driving. And she wasn't too keen on the idea. But when I looked tonight, I found a couple flights for about $600. So we decided we're just going to fly and go that route.
There you go. So now you're going to the Masters and you're flying. When you fly to a tournament,
excuse me.
Certainly. When you fly to a tournament, is it does that depend on the art? Like, you're going to bring 6 balls versus, well, I'm flying, so I'm going to bring 3 or what? I mean, you never bring just 3, I don't think. But
no.
How do you handle the bowling balls if you fly?
It really all depends on who's going and if somebody's going to drive. Or this year, I'm actually fortunate enough. My really good friend Robert Damadeo, some people know him as Robert John on Facebook.
Sure.
He's actually driving, and he had told me he would take a couple bags of mine. So he's going to take 2 bags. I'm going to bring 2 bags on the plane, and I'll actually have 12 bowling balls out there. Might have 11, but the one fortunate thing about being on staff is I do have the capabilities of drilling stuff on the truck. If I'm competitive, they know I won't just drill just to drill. If I'm not even close to being in the cut after the first day, I won't even ask, just because of the fact that I don't want them to waste the equipment.
Right.
But there are some people out there that, I remember being in a tournament one time and a guy was like 300 and some under after 7 games and asking to drill bowling balls, and they were like, no. I was like, I would never do that. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let you drill balls even if you're that far behind?
I mean, it just all depends on your capabilities and what the cut is. And, if you're 300 behind, chances of me, type bowler that I am, me getting to plus after that, I'd like to think I could do it. I could do it, but, the odds of it happening are little.
Yeah. So what kind of bowler are you? I think I've seen you throw 1 or 2 shots. You're a big backswing, big cranker kind of guy, right?
Yep. I put a lot of revs on the ball. Do have a high backswing. I'm actually working on that, learning that, the ball can't be going too fast down lane in order for it to slow down through the pins. A lot of the times when it gets to the longer patterns and stuff, I could slow the ball down pretty good. But my biggest problem with urethane is I throw it too fast and can't really throw urethane because of the ball speed. I leave
Right.
a lot of 10 pins and 7 pins and stuff, but I'm learning. Surface is very big key, and I just have to learn to slow the ball down pretty much every time I throw urethane or when I get into some of these sport patterns or harder patterns.
Okay. I'm bowling a 9-pin no tap tournament on Sunday. How many no tap 300s you got?
Never kept track.
Oh, really?
I do know I have a 900 because I bowled in a tournament in Rockford once, but that's about the only one that I remember. I
Yeah.
do have a couple. I mean, I remember going years ago. Me and my buddy Frank and my buddy Josh would used to go on Black Friday. We'd drive all around the state of Illinois and go bowl all the no taps that they had around here. And I've bowled a couple 279s in no tap. So
How do you bowl 279 in no tap?
smash pocket 710 the first frame, get one, and then strike out.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That makes.
Yeah.
All
I've
right.
done it a couple times.
Yeah. So when you were growing up and as you're moving up in the ranks of bowling, when did you decide to go start bowling regional events?
I actually wanted to be a professional when I was like 10 years old, 10 years old. I'd watch ABC on Saturday afternoons, sit down and watch it. The funny thing was when I was a kid, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my parents would record it on VHS. And if I was getting to be a pain in the butt to my parents, my mom would throw the VHS tape in and be like, "Oh, look, Jerry Bowling's on." And I'd be like, "Oh," and I'd watch it like I'd never seen it before. My mom would be like, "Oh, who's going to win today?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. It's the same people from last weekend, but I don't know who's going to win." And, I'd watch it like I was watching it all over again. But as far as me wanting to go bowl like regionals and stuff, I didn't start that until I was like 21, 22.
Oh, so a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I wish.
My gosh, that is just like I record them on VHS, and if you can only have so many VHSs. I mean, they were kind of expensive or whatever.
Right.
And if there wasn't if somebody bowled 300, I would never tape over it. But I got a TiVo in 2005 and would put them on DVD so I could watch them later. So yeah, we definitely have that in common. I mean, I could watch bowling anytime.
Yeah.
Um,
I normally, when there's nothing on TV and I'm just sitting at home, if I'm here by myself, I'll put on YouTube. And I'll put on like old telecasts. There's some telecasts where I'm sitting in the crowd, so I'll go back and watch them again. Some like the World Series of Bowling ones when they were at South Point and they built the 2 lanes.
oh yeah.
There's one where I think it was like 1996. It was I don't know if it was the Tournament Champions or if it was World Brunswick Open, but they were at Deer Park in Lake Zurich.
Yep.
And they built the 4 lanes at Harper College.
Oh
and
yeah.
I was in the crowd there. I was all the way up at top wearing a North Carolina jersey. So
yeah, that's awesome. The Brunswick World Tournament Champions at Deer Park. Yeah. What an event.
Yep.
So how come you've never joined the national tour?
I didn't necessarily not join it. I did travel. I bowled on tour for a couple of years. I roomed with Brian Valena. I didn't hit. There was like times where I didn't hit every stop because I had a full-time job. But I did. There was a couple of years where I did the World Series of Bowling, the U.S. Open, the Masters, and then I would do some other little stops. I did a lot of the extra frame stops that they did where they gave the national tour titles. Back in like 2015, 2016. I bowled Detroit, Aurora, Parkside and Aurora. What's another one? There was another one that I did. Wauwatosa, I think it was.
Sure. Okay.
So I've bowled quite a few national tour stops. I just never really was super successful out there. I've made cuts. I've made match play. I just haven't really been able to be out there full time just because I have a full-time job.
Sure.
Health issues, you need health insurance, and bowling doesn't give you health insurance. So.
Oh yeah. Wow. You mentioned Brian Valena. He's a super guy. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah. He came to my house like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
what a
actually
guy.
doing pretty good down in Tampa. So
Good for him. That's awesome.
he's lost a
That
lot
is
of
awesome.
weight. He's getting back into bowling. So
Incredible. So what was your best moment on the regional circuit?
my first win, I won at Boulevard in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I actually beat Valena in the first round of match play to get there. I actually thought I lost because the way I was adding up the scores, I thought all he needed was a mark to beat me. And he went up, threw the ball, and I want to say he opened. He left like the Greek church. And I thought he had it because I didn't think he even needed a mark. I just think he needed count. And I kind of accidentally said, congrats to him and walked away and started packing my stuff up because I thought I lost.
Yeah.
And he went up there and got the split, turned around. He looked at me and he goes, "You better win this damn thing." And I says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You beat me." I'm like, "Oh, you didn't even need count." And he's like, "No." He goes, I needed to strike on that shot. And I was like, "No." And I looked at the scores and I looked at him and I went, "Oh, I feel like a jerk." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, dude."
Man.
So,
wow. Now when you win a regional title, does it mean as much? I mean, well, does it mean as much as a national or what's the prestige of it?
It's never going to mean a lot. It's never going to mean as much as a national tour title.
Okay.
National tour title pretty much means you beat the best in the world. You get all these guys from, you got Belmo and all them. You win a regional title that pretty much tells me that, you beat the best in the Midwest or whichever region you were in. But that year, I think we had the one that I had won. I think it was like 2012. I had just gotten signed by DV8, and we had like 130 entries in the regional, and it was a one-day event. It was in a big bowling center. The bowling center was like 48 lanes, and we jammed like 5 or 6 people on a pair.
Wow.
It was one of those tournaments where it was like an all-day thing. When I got done, I literally, when I won, I worked third shift that night. Got off at 7 o'clock in the morning and got in a car. My buddy Matt, we call him Baconator, he met me at the exit to get on the 90, and we flew out to Madison, and we made it about 20 minutes before practice started. And I won, and I had absolutely no sleep, and then still had to drive home because Matt doesn't drive. His job was to keep me awake and stay awake. And when we left the bowling center, within 20 minutes, he was sleeping in the passenger seat.
There we go.
So
now, I don't know if he's watching, but I'm curious on the Baconator name. How?
So I used to manage a Brunswick zone when Brunswick used to own all the Boleros.
Right.
And he worked for us. Now, Matt, he's a kid that has epilepsy.
Okay.
So he can't drive. He does have seizures once in a while. And when he worked for us at the bowling alley, every time we had to drive him home, he always wanted to stop at Wendy's that was down the street from his house so he can get a Baconator. And his last name is Birkenhire. And so we were like, why don't you just change your name to Baconator? So now we all call him Baconator. And it's pretty much stuck with him for the last 15 years.
That's my go-to at Wendy's as well. I got to be honest.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
That's awesome. What was your worst moment on the regional circuit?
Whenever I bowl bad.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, yeah, I can't recall just any particular moment that I've had that's been bad. Just when I bowl bad, I have expectations of myself to be, very competitive. I do get mad. I do throw fits, just like pretty much any bowler that wants to win.
Sure.
I've gotten better over the years. My wife kind of likes to make fun of me for it, so she has it pretty much down pat as to what I do.
Oh no! Enlighten us.
But like, it's just like you get mad and you pull the chair out. She'll copy exactly what I do, and she'll walk around and imitate me. So
yeah, all right. Wow, what the heck here? All right, so what what region are you a part of?
I'm a part of the Midwest.
Okay.
It's basically Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I want to say North Dakota, South Dakota,
Hmm.
Missouri,
Hmm.
um, Iowa. I think that's it.
Okay. Can you bowl like if you wanted to? I mean, could you go say to let's say the East region and bowl one of those tournaments, or can
Oh
you
yeah,
have to stay? Yeah.
nope.
Huh.
You can go to whichever region you want as long as you pay your dues. Um, but a lot of times, the way it used to be was, if the Midwest had a regional one weekend and the Central had one the same weekend, you had to get permission from the Midwest director to go bowl it. Now
Hmm.
they have a rule in place. I want to say it's like 100 or 200 miles within the event. You have to get the permission from the tournament director. So
Interesting.
not a lot of guys, stay in just their region. There's some guys like I know Nate Garcia goes to the east and goes to South region, Southwest. There's guys from Texas that come up, will bowl the Midwest or they'll go to the West. Everybody goes wherever there's a regional. Um, I'll pretty much go wherever just to bowl.
Yep.
I've had one year, my wife and I, or last January, 2023, my wife and I went to Florida for our anniversary.
Hmm.
And Valena talked me into bringing bowling balls to come down and bowl a tournament down in Tampa. And I ended up winning the tournament.
I don't think he has to twist your arm. You guys are really close. That's
I wasn't twisting my arm; it was twisting my wife's arm.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. Um, so okay, I'm in Florida right now. I'm actually in Port Charlotte. If I want to bowl, let's say tomorrow I'm bowling during the day, but if I wanted to bowl tomorrow night, I got to pay, whatever the Florida USBC uh yearly due is.
Right.
So is that the dues that you're talking about, like the East region due, or if you just pay your membership, or
So
how does
now the
that work?
PBA has a fee that you pay. It's $99 for the year,
Okay.
or I'm sorry, $99 to start, and then now
Mhm.
they just recently raised it to I want to say it's like $35 a month. And we can bowl anywhere, any region, as many tournaments as we want, national tour stops. There's a part-time membership. I'm not exactly sure how much it is, but you can only bowl X amount of regionals. You can only bowl a couple national tour stops with the PTQs,
Mhm.
um, but that doesn't include like USBC Masters or US Open qualifiers and stuff like that.
Mhm. All right. Let's see. So what is your favorite regional stop?
I actually have a couple.
Hmm.
Uh, the first one, my ultimate favorite one, is Peru, Illinois.
Hmm.
That's where Nate Stubler's parents used to own the place. It was called Super Bowl, Illinois Valley Super Bowl.
Hmm.
And the regionals that they used to have there, the pro-ams are second to none. You
Hmm.
know, they know how to put on a regional. They know how to put on pro-ams. They do a Baker. You bowl 24 games of Baker for the
Hmm.
pro-am. The pros get to, get picked by a team and you bowl. The only way you get paid to bowl this pro-am is if your team cashes. But you don't. The pros don't pay anything to get into it. So I mean, they help out. The year that I actually won in Peru a couple years ago,
Hmm.
and the year that I won in Peru, I actually won the pro-am too. So
Oh,
it's like nice little bonus that you got for that. But it's the people down there, the Stubler family. You can't say anything bad about them. They're all great people. Nate
that's
is
awesome.
probably one of the most humbling person. You could sit there and say, oh Nate, you're just probably like one of the best bowlers in the Midwest, and he won't admit to it. He's kind of like me. You're not going to sit there and say that you're good. You're not going to get your ego super big.
Hmm.
If people say it, okay, fine, people say it. But like the whole Stubler family, they know how to take care of bowlers. They know how to take care of, you know, business. The center is just, it was just amazing. Now there's a guy named Joe Zokel who's just as good. He owns the center, and I don't know if we went last year because last year we went. I think the regional that they had that I wanted to bowl, I was actually at nationals, and I can't remember if that was Peru or if it was another one. But
Mhm.
I mean, anytime we go to Peru, it's a must go.
Yeah.
Boulevard Madison, must go. Love that center. I don't care what I bowl there. I could bowl a Madison area scratch tour tournament there or any other kind of tournament there, and I'm still going to bowl good.
What's the
Yeah,
surface in those places? Are they both synthetic?
Peru is the old Brunswick anvil lane,
Sure.
but with some of their panels, I don't know why they got switched out, but I'm guessing they got damaged somehow. So they changed those over to the new Brunswick Pro anvil lane. So
Mhm.
there's some that have like where the arrows, the panels where the arrows are at,
Mhm.
have the indicators showing you like where the boards are at. Not
Mhm.
the arrows down lane, but like right at the arrows that's like 15 feet from the foul line. That
Okay.
panel is completely different than the rest of the lane surface. So it plays a little different, plays a little weird, but all in all, it's still a good
Now,
good size, good center.
I know you're a Brunswick guy like me, but do you prefer Pro Anvil Lane or HPL synthetics?
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Nope. Does
All
not
right.
matter to me. As long as I can throw a ball down there, or
You
as the
got it.
Deviate motto says, as long as I can hurl dangerously heavy spheres at stationary objects, I don't care where I bowl. You can put me out on the parking lot and put plastic pins up, and I'll bowl and have a good time.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. We are chatting with Jerry Mars. This is Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com. They are working on reopening after that just senseless tragedy, man. Just, and they put on, they have new scoring monitors and whatnot. So, all right, let's get to where would you say is a stop that you are not a fan of because you just can't pry it off, or you just struggle?
PBA event or just any event?
PBA regional or any event. This is your podcast, so any way you want to go with this, go however you want.
PBA regional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking the center at all.
Of course you're not.
Schwogler's Bowl in Madison.
Okay.
I've bowled probably 8 or 9 regionals there. I've never cashed there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've missed the cut to make match play or cashers by one pin probably about 4 or 5 times. And I wish I was exaggerating. I'm not.
One pin 4 or 5 times. All right.
Yep. No joke. I throw I think there was one time I threw like a 228 the last game. It was like a high 220s game, and I thought, I was like 5 pins out of the cut, and I was like 228. Cool, we're in. We got to be in. Nope, had to shoot 229. It's just stuff like that at that bowling center. I can't. A great center. It's great center. Madison is, they've got some really tough bowlers out in Madison area. So the center is very well done. They flooded a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just one of those centers I just can't bowl.
Mm-hmm. So where is a place that the PBA region doesn't go that you wish they had? So that probably is a messy question. Let me put it to you this way. What's a bowling center that doesn't host a PBA regional that in your location that you wish it would absolutely host one?
Ooh, Stardust Bowl. There are 84 lanes.
Okay.
I wish we would go back to Hawthorne, but
I love
Hawthorne. Hawthorne is now like an open play center. They don't have anything but open bowling.
I know what that's like.
I know I think they're bringing the Peterson to Hawthorne.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Peterson's going to the Hawthorne this year. I don't know if you've ever bowled the Peterson or heard about it.
I've heard about it.
But they jack up the lanes, and the pins are off spot. From what we were told, like the old tale of the event was, they take the bowling pins when the tournament's over at the end of the season, or at the end of the tournament, and they throw them in boxes, and then they take them upstairs on the roof and they let them sit on the roof. So throughout the winter, they're up there, they get waterlogged, they get rained on, snowed on, sun beaten down on them. And then when the tournament starts, they take the pins and bring them down and put them in the machines. And that's the old tale that they say.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the way the pins fly, it could be possible because there's not a good sounding pin in those decks at all.
Oh.
There's times where you'll throw your ball at a single pin and hit the pin, and the head of the pin will pop off and break. So, it's just they find some of the worst pins to put in those machines. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I've bowled the past couple of years I've bowled a tournament in Bangor. I don't qualify to bowl any big tournaments. I mean, my average is like 150 or whatever, but
Mhm.
we bowled this, they call it the hangover tournament. It's on New Year's Day, and you can't practice. It's just your first shot counts. And but they don't do anything with the pins, thankfully. It's just regular. So that's good. All right. So what is the difference between a PBA regional and a PBA national event?
Prize funds,
Mhm.
talent of bowlers,
Mm-hmm.
hardness of the patterns,
Mm-hmm.
the size of the crowds that come out and visit, watch you bowl.
Right.
I mean, there's quite a few things that are different. Regionals, you can win anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500, unless it's a super regional. Then it can be anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000. It just all depends on the center, the location, if they're going to get entries, if they're going to get people to come watch. There's some centers that'll throw money at these tournaments and let them go, and then there's some centers where it's just all basically sponsored based.
Okay.
So
All right. What? Hold on. Let's see. What is like the dress code for PBA regionals, and what are the rules?
it's supposed to be the same as what the national tour is. So
Mhm.
you have to wear dress slacks. You have to wear the collared shirt with your name on it.
Mhm.
Your dye sub jerseys are basic, like Bolify, Coolwick,
Mhm.
High Five, all
Mhm.
the name brand ones that have registered. Um, I know the way it used to be years and years ago is you had to have your shirt tucked in. Now they don't. Neither tour really sticks to that and enforces that a lot. There's a lot of guys that'll bowl with their shirts untucked. It doesn't necessarily look sloppy, but back in the day, like late '90s, early 2000s, you had to have your shirt tucked in. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You had
Mhm.
to wear a belt. There was at one time the Midwest, Rich Weber. At first, he would tell us, wear dress shoes when you came in when wearing your dress pants, and now guys walk in with tennis shoes and flip flops. And so, I mean, the national tour is a little bit more strict on that stuff. Regional tours are a little bit more lax, but there's still the same respect level that bowlers have to have for the center, for their equipment and stuff like that.
All right. What are there any like re-rack rules? Like how many re-racks do you get for, and like what's a tournament? What's a format for a regional?
Usually the regionals, I think you get 2 re-racks per game.
Mm-hmm.
When you take a re-rack, you have to let somebody on your pair know, and then they have to
Mm-hmm.
mark it down on your sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Unless a pin's fallen over,
Right.
or the pin's like moved over so bad that it's not a legal rack.
Mm-hmm.
Formats can be anywhere. I know out here in the Midwest, we do elimination style, to where
Mm-hmm.
uh, a good one that we have is the Lockport Celeste Walker Open.
Mm-hmm.
They do 8 games of qualifying, and then they cut to the top. Let's say 32 go to Sunday. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday we'll go in there. We'll bowl 4 more games. They'll cut to 16, and then you'll bowl 4 more games or 3 more games. You'll cut to the top 6 or 8, and
Mm-hmm.
then you bowl 2 more games. They'll cut to the top 4, and then it's match play from there. We've had it to where you bowl 8 games qualifying, come back on Sunday, bowl 4 more games, and then they take the top 16 for best 2 out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
We've had 12 games of qualifying, 6 and 6, and then come back top 5 step ladder. There's so many different formats that the regionals
Nice.
use that we
Yeah.
go to. Also depends on if it's a 1 day event or if it's a 2 day.
Mhm.
Some regionals go to a 1 day event. We do all the qualifying and all the match play in 1 day.
That's a long day.
It's a very long day.
Yeah. Um, don't you run a tournament your own, or did you?
I run a lot of tournaments. I do
Okay.
King of the Hills on Friday nights in the summer. We actually start this year April 28th.
Mhm.
It's $40 to bowl. The first couple years that I ran it, I'd got like 30, 40 entries on average, running it for
Mhm.
like 8 weeks.
Mhm.
There was a guy named Sean uh, Selinsky. I don't know really how to say his last name, but he is the manager of Inman's and Valpo, and he
Mhm.
used to manage a place called Stardust in or not Addison, Dyer, Indiana,
Mhm.
and he used to run a King of the Hill there. He used to get like 100, 110 entries a night on a Friday night, starting at 10 o'clock at night. And a lot of the people that would bowl were people from Chicago, people from Indiana, all over the place. And he'd put out some shots that he would make up, some shots that he would find on the internet that a tournament ran or something like that. When he moved to Valpo, Valpo is an hour and 45 minutes away from here. And when he moved to Valpo, uh, Dyer was an hour and 15 minutes away. I had asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I do something on Friday nights? You're basically attracting the crowd from Indiana. You're going to get some of the guys from the city. I'm trying to look to attract the people from like the Joliet area
Mhm.
and towards Poplar. He didn't have an issue with it. And so I started doing it on Friday nights. But I would start mine at 7 o'clock in the summer.
Mhm.
And he just, he's the one that basically paved the way for King of the Hills out here to be
Mhm.
what they are because he started it. And I'll give the man credit for everything he's done for the bowling community, for Indiana, Chicago, uh, because he's done a lot. And he's a lot of people call him the king of running tournaments, and there's a reason why he does. He is called that. It's because he does run a lot. And he does a very well job. Payouts are great. Payouts are fair. Um,
Mhm.
he just does a good job with it. So he
Yeah.
helped me get started. And this past year, uh, my wife and I, she helps me a lot with the King of the Hills. We averaged 112 entries a week for 17 weeks.
Mhm.
And that's
That's
up from 82 from last year. So,
good stuff, man. I'm assuming it's
yeah,
scratch.
all scratch. We put out
Mhm.
sport patterns. It's a different sport pattern every week.
Mhm.
We start with a short pattern, then we go medium, and then we go long. And
Mhm.
then, we alternate them in and out. Sometimes we'll go short, short, medium, long, long, medium, short. Um, I know this year we're starting off, I think the first week we're doing uh, the USBC Masters 2023 pattern for the first week because of the fact that Illinois Masters is the same weekend. And that falls on April 26th is when we start. The 27th is the Masters, Illinois Masters, and the 28th is the Illinois Queens. So we're making a big weekend of it at Lockport Strike and Spare. And then the
Okay.
following week, we're doing USBC team pattern, and then we'll do USBC singles and doubles. And
Mhm.
then from there, we just keep going. We got a regional that's going to be at Lockport Strike and Spare Memorial Day weekend. And that
Mhm.
Friday before Memorial Day weekend, we're using the same regional pattern. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have access to all the PBA patterns? Like if you want to put it on cheetah, you want to put it on scorpion, or you want to put it on
oh, yeah.
badger, you can do all
Yep.
that. Oh, okay.
Yep. On the PVA website, when we log in under our membership, there's a spot where we can go to download them. It gives you all the different oiling machine. There's like 3 or 4 different oiling machine options that you could choose from, and then it puts it in the a little sheet that you download into the oiling machine, and it puts it out for you. Poplar Creek is very, very helpful with that. They just got a new oiling machine, and they pretty much, if I call them up and say, hey, I want to practice on this pattern tomorrow, can I do it? They'll tell me yes, and then I'll walk in the bowling center and they'll have the pattern out for me. Because they just got one of the new Kegel machines where they can download the patterns from their phone. So,
That isn't man, technology, man. Jeez.
yeah,
No more
yeah.
spray guns.
Pete Albert is the head mechanic there. He's done a lot for me just in my bowling and for the tournaments. Pete has also been another person that has helped me get the King of the Hills to where they've been and the other
Mhm.
events that I run. Poplar Creek when I was a junior bowler. I didn't really care to bowl there because I never bowled good.
Mhm.
And then it was just like my center closed down and Poplar Creek became my home. I do have bowling centers in the area that, I could go to, but
Mhm.
talking with Pete, it's a center that's right off the highway, had our tournaments there, and people loved going there because it was such easy access to get to and to get out of.
Mhm.
And just Pete's just always helped me. Um,
Mhm.
the center, the people at the center are very nice. You go in and practice, and everybody wants to talk, and that's kind of nice. It's a good atmosphere. Brad Snell has the pro shop there, and
Oh yeah. Would love to get Brad on. He bowled. I know he bowled in. He actually bowled in the first ever arena show
mhm.
in '94. So yeah, would love to get him on. So, Brad, if you're watching, you're welcome on anytime. What? How come regional tour events aren't on TV? Even a smaller, like maybe a local TV station in Chicago or something like that.
They're not so much on TV out here, but
Mm,
Phil Brylow does live stream them.
sure, yeah, yeah,
And
of
he
course.
does he does live stream them from start beginning or start to
Mm,
finish.
mm,
As far as being on TV, it just costs so much money. It's
yep.
for a TV station to come out and set up a camera and cover it. It takes a lot. And that's why I think live streaming of events has kicked off big time because of the fact that a lot of times it's free. People get to watch it. They get to see the local stuff.
All right. So let's see. Thoughts on general on the following centers: Beverly, Bolero, Deer Park, and Riverbend.
Beverly is actually owned by the Zykes family, Les and Lyle Zykes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have a very nice center. I enjoy bowling there. I've had a couple tournaments there. It's kind of like an older fashioned type center, um, but they do a lot for bowling as well out of their center.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Beverly is a really good center. Deer Park, I actually have the house record. I set that last year at a tournament for 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I went 299, 300, and 268, I believe, for 867. And that was like the first 3 games of the tournament. um, Deer Park has always been a center that I enjoy bowling at, just because it's got so many memories of the PBA being there.
Oh, I love
I
Deer
remember
Park.
going there. I remember going there as a kid and watching the pros, Parker and Weber and Walter
Oh yeah.
Ray, Parker, all those guys, watching them all bowl. So I have all those memories. Jason Couch, he's another one that, I've gotten to know and become friends with. Um,
I mean, what's that like for you? I mean, you're all of a sudden you're growing up, you're bowling, and you're dreaming about it, and all of a sudden now you got friends that are, you know,
it's
that are your heroes.
it's wild. It really is because you see guys like I remember watching Parker bowl in the arena at Harper College, and I remember bowling the pro am there, and it was one of, I want to say it was like one of the last tournaments that I bowled as a youth bowler,
Mm.
and I ended up taking first in the pro am. And Parker was like, "We're going to see you out on tour sometime," and I was like, "You're just joking with me." And I come out on tour. I get sponsored by Deviate, and I start showing up to like the World Series of Bowling, and uh, I made 2 cuts at a World Series. I want to say in 2015. That was
Mhm.
Scorpion and Chameleon, and
Mhm.
I had to stay an extra 4 days before I bowled again. And Parker took me and Valenta out for dinner. And that dinner is one of one of very few dinners that I've had with somebody that I will remember till the day I die.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially because of the fact that he didn't, I don't want to say lecture, okay? He
Hmm.
prepared me for what I was going to experience. He
Yep.
he laid out you know, he goes, this is the emotion that you're going to do. You're going to panic when you fall behind, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. You know, you can't think of that, and you can't think of this. You got to think positive. Don't think about bowling. You know what you're going to do. You know what your body's going to do.
Mhm.
All that stuff, you know. It was just very unfortunate that I bowled against John Van Hees in the Scorpion one, and he shot like 810 against me for the 3 games, and I shot like 700, 704, something like that.
Mhm.
So I got beat by the guy that eventually won the Scorpion one.
Mhm.
But just you get signed by Deviate. Never did I think that I'd become friends with like guys like Jason Couch or
Oh, right.
Parker or Walter.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's just nice.
I used to email Parker like back in '99, and I met him in 2013. And I know this is your podcast, and I'll tell a quick story. In 2013, I'm at my bowling center, and the proprietor, Andy Mucci, who owns Family Fun Lanes in Bangor, Maine, he says, "Oh, your hero is coming to Portland." And I said, "Okay." And I thought we were talking about Sean Rash or whatever, because I think we were talking about Rash. And he says, "No, Parker's going to be there April 6th. And I'm like, "Okay." So then I go on Facebook and I write this post, and I'm begging for my life, like there's a gun to my back. Please don't shoot me. You know, somebody give me a ride. I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
And my buddy Jerry Donna says, we'll go. And I said, tell you what, Jerry, I'll pay your double. I'll pay your let's bowl doubles. I'll pay your entry. So we bowl doubles. I meet Parker, and we become, you know, friends and whatnot. And, you know, Parker's one of my best friends today. And, you know, when I saw him in Portland last year, I mean, I've seen him several times. When I saw him in Portland last year, he ordered some French fries or whatever, and I bought his French fries because, you know, listen, Parker Bone could probably pay my rent for a few years.
Yeah.
I'm on slow, you know, low income housing, and I'm not,
Right.
you know, I'm not saying anything like, hey, Parker, will you do this for me? No, it's one of those. I know that he could do that, so why don't I? You know, I don't see the money, I just see the man. So that's why, you know, yeah. I mean, those guys
Plus,
being
that's the same thing with me with Rash. I mean, I've become really good friends with Sean. When I had my heart attack in 2018, they had told me that I had to have quadruple bypass, possibly a 5 bypass. And I was scared for the surgery. And one of the guys that called me was Rash. You know, he saw the post and he had called me, and him and I had exchanged numbers when he was with Brunswick. When I first met him, you know, he was saying how he was moving to Aurora and everything. I was like, well, you know, I'm not too far. You know, if you ever want to get together, go to lunch, whatnot, you know, just let me know. So we exchanged numbers, and Sean's always been the type of person where he's called me, check on me, see how I'm doing. Funny story was I had my heart attack October of 2018, and I had quadruple bypass surgery. Doctors told me I probably wouldn't bowl for about 6 months. And I was like, okay. And I said, I'm going to go with sooner. And they said, we'll see, you know, see how things are going. And I said, okay. They gave me the clearance to lift 12 pounds. So in my mind, I thought, hey, I could throw a 12-pound bowling ball. Why not? You know, if I can lift it, I can throw it. I was going to the gym. 3 months after I had surgery, there was a tournament out here called the King Classic. It's in honor of Richie Buss. He used to be a bowler on tour back in, I want to say, the 70s and 80s. The whole Buss family, great people. I haven't missed
Jesse, related to Jesse, right?
I believe it's Jesse's dad.
Okay.
So I hadn't missed a King Classic in all the time that it was going on. And 3 days before the tournament, I started throwing 15 pounds. I ended up winning that tournament. Not knowing how I qualified, not knowing how I was doing because I wasn't paying attention. We got done with the 8 games, and I looked at my wife because we had just gotten married, and I said, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And somebody came up to me and they're like, well, you better get ready because you're in the stepladder. And I said, there's no way. There's no way I'm in the stepladder. And they said, Jerry, you're in the stepladder. And I said, okay, whatever. So I packed all my stuff up, put my stuff off by the door, and they made the announcements. And they're like, "And your number 2 qualifier, Jerry Mars, at plus 184 or whatever it was." And I turned around and I looked at my wife and I said, "I was 184 over," and she goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh boy." So my first match, I bowled against Jason Miller, beat him.
Mm-hmm.
I had to loft the ball because the lanes were so dry they don't re-oil for the step ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And the next game, I had a guy come up to me and he was like, "The final match, just make your spares." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "The kid you're bowling against, he's going to be stuck in a ball and he's going to try and hook at spares, and you just can't hook them on these conditions." And I says, "Okay." And I got up. I think it was like the 9th frame.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a mark basically to just coast to the win, and I left the 2-4-10.
Oh no.
And I was like, "Well," I'm like, "just go for 2." And I threw the ball and I picked up all 3 and was like, pumped up to go. And I got up first shot in the 10th, threw a strike to seal the match, and you let out this gut wrenching yell.
Mm-hmm.
I yelled, "Come on!" And I had a lady in the crowd going, "Really? Is that necessary?" And my wife turned around and looked at her and said, "Yes, he had open heart surgery 3 months ago." And the lady goes, "Oh my!" And just the tears and everything came down. And
Yeah.
I wasn't even off the approach, and Sean Rash was calling my phone to congratulate me. My mom and dad didn't even have a chance to call me. It was Sean that was messaging me. So Sean has always been somebody who's I've kept in contact with. I talk to him. He only lives like an hour away from me when he's not bowling on tour.
Right.
I'll go out and bowl, practice and do whatever, just to go and talk to the guy. He's always been there for me. So never in a million years would I think somebody at Sean Rash caliber, would be there for me. So
Jerry,
nice.
it's really not hard to be there for somebody like you because I remember when you had that scare, that heart attack. It was we've been Facebook friends for quite a while. And that doesn't surprise me one bit. So, and I'm glad to talk to you. I'm glad to know you. You're a super guy.
I've always been the type of person to where I've always, been helpful for a lot of people, and I'm always there for a lot of people just because I've been rock bottom. A lot of people don't know this, but for years I lived in my parents' basement because I lost everything in my first divorce. I filed for bankruptcy, lost everything, and I had to start from the bottom. And my parents were the ones there to not let me give up, not let me fail. I went through depression. I went through all the emotions. So it's like I don't want to see people go through that because I know what it's like. For Thanksgiving, Black Friday, I put on a tournament. We call it Black Friday doubles. Every year when we get done bowling, I get done running that and the tournament gets over, my wife and I, or myself and some friends, we would do a coat drive. We'd collect coats, blankets, socks, food, all kinds of stuff. And then we would go to the downtown Chicago and hand it out all to the homeless. And this past year, we didn't go because in 2022, I think it was, we got attacked. So, and I don't want to say that we got, jumped, people beat us up. It wasn't that. It was, we pulled up to help a family and somebody came out of nowhere and started yelling and screaming at us, asking where their stuff was. And it wasn't just one person. It was a car full of people. And
where their stuff was.
Yeah. They wanted free stuff too. Where's my free stuff? Where's the, and it was, I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I dropped the box, said, here you go. Have at it.
Wow. Sorry that happened to you, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. You definitely didn't have to. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah. I'm healthy. I'm not as healthy as I could be. I still eat foods that I probably shouldn't.
Amen, brother.
I was working out with my wife. We would go into the gym 2-3 times a week. We went on a cruise and we kind of haven't been there yet. But we did say that we were going to start next week.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But health-wise, I'm doing pretty good. Bowling-wise, things have been pretty good. I do have the one tournament here and there that I can't get out of my own way.
Yep.
This past weekend in Waterloo, Iowa, that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, everything seems to be really, really good. I got a full-time job. I work days now. I'm not on nights anymore. So it's enjoyable.
Waterloo, Iowa. Isn't that Tom Hess country?
Yes, it is. Well, I want to say Tom is like Davenport area.
Sure. Okay.
But it's not too far from Tom. He was there. He was bowling. You know, it's kind of nice to be in an area. I've become friends with Tom and his wife Sue.
Yeah.
We actually mentioned to Sue about us wanting to go to Florida in October because a couple of years ago we were in Florida. And I saw Tom post that him and his wife Sue were at the airport and they were going to Florida. And I was like, where are you guys going? He's like, we're going to Clearwater Beach. I was like, dude, that's where we're at, you know? So when he got there, we met up for lunch and we met up for dinner. And there was one morning we were walking on the beach, my wife and I, and him and Sue were walking. So we all decided to walk together. And, you know, when I first met Tom years ago, when I got out on tour, he was very go hung on to win. You know, he wanted to win. And a lot of people, you know, took his antics as, you know, him just being crazy. He's not. He wanted to win. And I've gotten to know him over the years. I've gotten to watch him bowl. And Tom's a great person. You know, Sue's there and she cheers everybody on. And, you know, this weekend when I was bowling, you know, they stayed to watch a lot of the bowlers and they came down to make sure that we were okay before they left. And, you know, it's just the friendship that we have.
Oh, Hess is a great guy. I mean, seriously.
Yes, he is.
He yeah, I never talked to Sue, but Tom, I finally met Tom in 21 and what a guy. What a guy.
Yeah.
So what's the atmosphere like at a regional? I mean, I know that national events, you might get occasional, you know, I know it's very intense and everybody's out to win. Nobody's really talking during qualifying or, you know, socializing during qualifying and match play. And it's definitely not the show. What's a regional like? What's the
regional?
Atmosphere?
Basically like it's like a national tour stop, but you know, there's a lot of guys that'll sit and talk. And when we get done bowling, we'll all get together and be like, oh, this is how I bowled. I missed this many spares. And, you know, national tour is basically the same way, but there's a lot of times that, you know, these guys will converse during the tournament. So, you know, we'll be able to talk throughout it. There's still, you get those people that, you know, if you start laughing in the background, they'll get upset with you, throw their ball in a rack, just like a national tour. But it's a little bit more laid back than a national tour, but it's still just as important to a lot of these guys and to myself.
Absolutely. So what's a PBA rule that you agree with that others might not?
I don't know. To be honest with you. I mean, I've always been, you know, I kind of, you know, am the one that's like stuck in the old time ways and, you know, think your shirt should be tucked in, but you know, we're newer times and some people don't wear their shirts tucked in and that's fine. You know, that's their prerogative. That's their, I've had it to where I've bowled bad and I've just untucked my shirt just because of comfort level and, you know, just let it go from there. So I'm basically going against what I think, but you know, it's just.
What's a rule that you disagree with?
I hate PTQs. I really do. I don't think, to me, if you want something to grow, let everybody bowl. I mean,
oh my gosh, yes.
I'm not one to make those decisions. I've had to sit down with Tom, and you know, he's told me that the PBA National Tour isn't prize fund driven. I get that, but you've got all these kids coming out of college. You've got all these people that have these dreams of being professional bowlers, and they're bowling these PTQs. I give these guys credit. Ben Sobel, Nate Purchase, Nate Stubler, Brett Boha.
Nate Purchase was a junior bowler for a long time.
Right. And all these guys are trying to go out there this year and bowl. You're having these PTQs at 80-some bowlers and then you're only allowing 60 some people in the field. I remember when PBA tournaments had 2 squads, and you get all these people that sit there, oh, you got squad equity. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
I get squad equity, I get you, but that's all part of the nature. That's all part of, you don't want squad equity, then have 1 week you start on B squad, and next week you start on A squad, then you alternate. I just, me personally, my opinion, I don't like PTQs. I think everybody should bowl. U.S. Open, I hate the fact that they limit it to however many people.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just bowled at Woodland, 70 lanes, and you only use 24.
What?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. All right, so if I'm in Woodland, right, and you're only using 24, so what was, I mean, all right.
So they
Let's
used
say-
24 for the tournament. Then they used, I want to say, 12 for practice. So you didn't practice on the pairs that you bowled on. So,
Okay.
like if the tournament was, let's say, 23 through 50,
Mhm.
okay, so then that means 11 through 22 was your practice pairs. And when you got done with practice, they turn the lanes on, 10 minutes of practice, and then you go down to your starting pair. You got 2 practice balls each lane, and then you started.
Okay.
And then the rest of the house just sits dormant.
Yeah.
Use the center. Get more of these kids out there. These kids want to do this for a living. Promote it, let it do it. I love the PBA, but that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to bash the PBA.
No.
I'm not, my opinion, you need more bowlers. But
so let's say
I've seen posts today where people are like, we need different names. You need to see different people up top. You're not going to, because they have the limited fields. Granted, those guys earn their way. Those guys bust their butts. But guys, to me, like Anthony Lavery-Spar, he shouldn't be bowling PTQs. He was injured last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
if I'm there watching you guys bowl and I feel like I want to bowl, like let's say at Woodland, right? If I went to the U.S. Open, can I bowl on a lane that you guys aren't bowling on, or is that open? No. Wow.
Center's closed.
Well,
center's closed.
Okay.
They don't even open. I want to say they don't even open to open bowling after qualifying is done.
Wow.
Like the center's closed.
Okay. I'm actually not a fan of. I wasn't a fan of the exempt tour in 03 when they started that in 03, 04. I felt terrible for Randy. I felt terrible for Trabes. All those guys, Ballard, I mean, listen, if you want to enter a PBA, now I understand that I can't enter a PBA tournament. I'm not saying, hey, let somebody with a 150 average bowl go try it. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. But if you qualify for the PBA, bowl, let them bowl. But
yeah, I just stick to my one tournament now. I bowl the Masters. They actually the Illinois Classic, the PBA Illinois Classic that was at Mount Prospect that was just here, that was in my backyard. That center is probably about 20, 25 minutes away from my house.
Illinois Classic, was that a national?
Yeah, that's the one that Marshall Kent just won.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Did you bowl that?
Nope.
Oh,
I was on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean.
Okay.
So we had that trip booked, and I heard somebody post on Facebook. They're like, PBA's coming to Illinois. They're going to Mount Prospect, and I was like, oh, this is sweet. I'm like, I'm going to bowl the PTQ. It's February 4th through the 11th. I said, I'm not bowling this PTQ. So I'm going to be on a cruise ship.
Being on a cruise ship is much more important than bowling, isn't it, Jerry? I mean,
It was, but it rained probably 50% of the time we were on this cruise. So.
Oh, that sucks.
But it was still the best part about the cruise was it was relaxing, and I got to spend time with my parents and my wife and some friends, and it was just an all around a relaxing time.
Yeah. Well, we got 8 viewers, so please like and subscribe if you haven't. And check this out. We are talking to Jerry Mars. It's Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out, justintimebowl.com. What's not a PBA rule that should be?
I don't have anything in mind.
Okay.
I mean, I've tried thinking of something, and I just...
You're good.
Right off the top of my head, I can't come up with something.
So if you notice anything when you, I'm sure you, I don't know how many of these you've watched, but Parker was the first pro that I interviewed.
Uh-huh.
Andrew Pfeffer was the first guy that I interviewed. Period. You were on his show.
Yep.
And so when I interviewed Parker, after that, I was like, you know what? That's what I need to do. I need to interview anybody that will be interviewed, any PBA member, any 200 average bowler that will be interviewed. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of yeses, a few no's. Weber won't come on, but that's all right. All right. When was the last time you bowled 300, Jerry?
It was a couple weeks ago.
All right, you're gonna bowl one tonight, and that was probably stressful because you probably when you bowl 300, you probably have some lucky breaks. Well, we're gonna go flush in the pocket. I'm gonna ask you some just simple questions that are just fun. Okay. And let's get started. So what is your favorite food?
Food I should not have.
Exactly. There you go.
French fries are my guilty pleasure because of the fact that I have them everywhere we go. We go to restaurants and my wife will order something and she'll get like tater tots or something. And I'll be like, no, get French fries. I don't want French fries. I want tater tots. And it's like, you get French fries, I get more. So get French fries, Another story about French fries was I bowled a tournament and I was bowling bad. And my wife went to the snack bar, got me fries. And no joke, I shot like 170, 180, while the rest of the field was like shooting 220s, 230s. And she got me these French fries, and I shot 250, 270, 260. And I jumped myself up into the cut. And she was just like, well, I guess you need more French fries then.
Can you wait? Is that during a regional or?
Yeah, that was during a regional.
Can you eat during a national event? Probably not, right?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can. Oh.
Yep. Oh. As long as you're there when it's your turn to bowl. They just ask you to do like minimum time on your phone. Stay in the bowler's area. Be there when it's your turn to bowl. Stuff like that. Be respectful of everybody and keep the pace of play going. Same thing with a regional. If you got somebody who can go get you food, somebody can go get you food and you can eat. Just be there when it's your turn to bowl and be ready.
All right. So what is your favorite music?
Everything. Okay. I listen to country. I listen to rock. My favorite artist is Tech Nine. He's a rapper out of Missouri, out of Kansas City. I've seen that man in concert so many times. We have a local band out here called Seventh Heaven. They do what they call their 30 songs in 30 minutes. It's a medley of just all kinds of different music, 80s rock, 90s rock, today's music. They're just basically like a cover band, but they do have their own music. So we've gone and see them in the summer. We go all over to that. Luke Combs is another artist that I've been listening to a lot.
Oh, he's awesome.
So there's a lot that I listen to.
There you go.
Wide variety.
Check out my radio station, b105radio.com.
I have.
Nice. There you go. That's awesome. Favorite toy as a child?
Plastic bowling pins with a plastic ball.
Yep.
My parents bought that for me, and I used to set it up in the garage, and I'd put the garbage cans with a broom, and I'd put a blanket behind it so it'd make it look like the curtain, in the pin setter. And I would just sit there and bowl for hours.
Okay. I would do it in my parents. Go ahead.
My parents are watching. Another one was encyclopedias, because my mom bought a whole brand new set of encyclopedias, and there was probably about 40 of these things. And I used them to build walls, and I used them to build lanes. And they had a little wooden pin set, and I would take a golf ball and I would sit there and bowl on this thing and just throw the ball down the lane like it was. And then my mom got mad because I took marker and I marked up the encyclopedias with pin spots and arrows.
I want to see pictures, man. That's awesome.
I wish I had pictures.
Oh my God. Well, so I would bowl in my parents' hallway, and it was on a rug or whatever. And then I would throw it like a regular ball. So they had to put this little board at the end so that I don't poke a hole, punch holes in the wall.
Yep.
And then I went to Canada one time to visit my aunt, and and I actually brought my set because they have wood floors, and they have same hall, but it was
Right.
actually like a bowling alley because it was all wood. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. So many guests have said that they've plastic pins, and oh my gosh, yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any phobias?
Heights. I hate roller coasters.
Okay.
The funny thing is, I don't like roller coasters, but I will get in a plane and we could have like the bumpiest of flights, and I'll just sit there like nothing's going on. But man,
right,
you get me on a roller coaster and nope, I'm good. I keep my 2 feet on the ground.
Right, but you're stable in a plane. You're just,
my wife doesn't like flying. She hates the turbulence part, and I always joke with her and be like, a plane has never crashed for the turbulence. I don't know what you're freaking out about, And now her cousin, who's going to the University of North Dakota to be a pilot, now has a internship type thing, or he's going to have a job with United Airlines flying their planes. And he told us that, he said that, he goes, you want to hear something interesting about planes? We said, sure, what's up? He goes, scientifically, they have no idea how planes fly.
Huh.
They have no idea how the planes get up in the air, and they have no idea how they stay in the air.
Okay.
So that we just blew my wife's mind. She was like, I was like, that's pretty cool.
I don't like the popping of the ears. That's the only thing that bothers me.
I chew gum. It doesn't happen for me.
Oh yeah, but okay.
Just like when we went on the cruise, the one night the boat was very rocky because we were in a storm, and the waves were pretty big, and I didn't have any problems, but there was people on that boat that were like, I gotta go to the room because I'm gonna get sick. And my wife had motion sickness patches on, and some of my friends did, and I was just like, nope, I'm good. Walking around the ship as it rocks like I'm drunk, but I was fine.
All right. If Make-A-Wish called you, I mean, obviously that's for people with life-threatening illnesses and whatnot, but if Make-A-Wish called you and offered you a wish, what would it be?
I'd want a bowl in the White House.
Me too. Yep.
I'd want a bowl in the White House. I see videos of the lanes in there, and I'm just like, man, how cool would that be? Like,
yeah,
you go to the White House and you're bowling. Just going to anybody's house. I see these kids with bowling lanes in their house. Cameron Doyle, you used to see the videos of parents building the 2 lanes in the house, and having the Doyle Training Center. I would die for that. I would love it. I told my wife, we get a house big enough and put a lane in there. She goes, I'll never see you. I go, but you'll know where I'm at. You will know where I'm at. I am not going to be outside at a bowling center. I'm going to be in my house in the basement bowling. Not like my wife has anything to worry about. She knows where I'm at because I tell her where I'm going every time and tell her what I'm doing. But like, you wouldn't have to look for me. You know where
you'll
I'm
spend
at,
time with her though, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
It's awesome. I want to go to.
I would tell her to grab her bowling ball and her shoes and let's go.
That's awesome. I want to. Is she a bowler?
No, she likes to run.
Okay.
She does the training for like the 5Ks. She did the Chicago Marathon in 2018, I believe it was.
Yeah.
She tried it in 2015 and she got forced off the course because of dehydration, because the Chicago Marathon is usually done in October.
Yeah.
Her brother's done it quite a few times, and every time he's done it, it's always been like 40 degrees, 35 degrees, 50 degrees. The one year she decided to try it, it was 85 degrees outside, not a cloud in the sky, sun beating down on everybody, and there was no training in weather like that. And she got dehydrated and passed out on the course, and they had to drag her off and bring her to the medical tent. And then 3 years later, she told me she wanted to try it again, and I told her, I got your back. You want to do it? So I rode a bike for 20 some miles on the bike path while she ran. Now she does like the Shamrock Shuffle, which is 5 miles. She does hot chocolate run. So that's
What's
her
the
thing.
hot chocolate run?
Basically, it's an event in November. You run, I want to say it's 3 miles, and when you get done with the race, they give you a big glass of hot chocolate with a bowl with chocolate fondue in it, and they give you a banana, they give you graham crackers, they give you all kinds of things to dip into this chocolate, and then
Mm,
you go home. You get a medal, and it's a fun time. It's basically like a party in the park when you're done.
that's awesome. Um, I want to bowl at Jason Aldean's house because he's got Brunswick. He's got a 2-lane Brunswick thing. I wonder if he has the oil machine. But
Well, I'm
I
sure he
want to
does.
take a couple balls and I want to bring him to his. I would love to check that out. I mean, that's awesome. That would be awesome.
Walter Payton's old house in Barrington, which is not too far from Poplar Creek. He's got 2 lanes in that house. They don't. I don't think they own that house anymore. I don't think his kids own it or anybody in his family does. But the house that he had built in Barrington had 2 lanes in it.
Who doesn't have a who isn't rich? I mean, everybody who's rich has a bowling alley. My gosh.
So funny thing is, my wife and I got married in Clearwater Beach.
Okay.
There's a town not too far from Clearwater Beach called Bel Air. And Ryan Howard from the Phillies built a mansion there, and there's 2 lanes in there. And I've been trying to get, like, I've been tweeting at him on Twitter, hey, let me come bowl. I want to come bowl at your house and this and that. And we go to find out he doesn't even own the house anymore. Some big real estate mogul. And it's just, it was like we heard that he had those 2 lanes in the house. I'm like, how cool would that be?
Did he actually respond back to you?
No, Ryan Howard's never responded back to me.
Wow.
So I don't think he's active much on Twitter anyway.
All right. What do you do to take your mind off of bowling?
Listen to music.
Yeah. All right.
Like if I'm bowling in a tournament, I'll either listen to music or if I don't bring my headphones, I'll play games on my phone to kind of like not think about it, or I'll go in the back and talk to people. One of the things that like kind of gets me is like when you're bowling bad and it's kind of obvious and people come up to me like, how are you doing? Well, you couldn't tell by me throwing bowling balls down on the ground. And, I get it. People don't pay attention that much, but
Oh my God.
yeah, it's, I've had a couple times where, people have come to me and asked me questions, that just completely off the wall, and they know that I don't care to talk about it at that moment, and they'll just keep digging and digging and digging. And
Right.
I'm just like, all right, I gotta go. Can't talk.
Right. Tomorrow I'm bowling with 2 women that aren't like, they just do it for fun. And when I get kind of irritated at myself, I bowl with this 70-plus-year-old woman. And she's always like, oh, shake it off. It's like, okay. I mean, but you can't really say anything to her because, like, lady, I've done this for 30 years. I mean, I'm not going to be, of course I'm going to be respectful, but people that don't bowl kind of get under me a little bit because they don't get it. And, they don't, they always think a strike is a strike. And if it didn't look quite right, yeah. Well, it looks good up there. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What are you?
I actually bowl with a guy. His name is Vince. We had one night at league.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't struck. I hadn't hit the pocket. I was not bowling good. And he comes up to me and he looks at me and he's like, is the left lane tighter than the right lane? And I looked at him and I said, Vince, I haven't hit the pocket yet. And we're in the 8th frame of the first game. I'm like, I have no clue. Because we were on a pattern that for some reason the outsides just weren't playing. I couldn't get the ball to stop hooking. I couldn't get it to hook. And I got up there, I threw the ball, and I just absolutely pured it, struck. And I turned around, I looked at him, I went, yep, left lane is definitely tighter than the right lane. And I was just like, why would you ask me something like that? So we give him a hard time about it. But it's all in fun now.
No, of course. I don't know if you've ever seen me throw a shot, but I am bowling a 9-pin no tap on Sunday. And I'm considering taking my Avalanche Pearl and just throwing it not throwing it as hard as I can, but just throwing it up the middle.
Yeah.
Now I kind of have a backup ball. And I texted Parker and he says, well, keep an open mind or whatever. But, Yeah, I don't know. What would you do? What should I do?
For no tap,
Yeah,
just I
trying to
just
win
go out and have
$1,000
fun.
here. No,
I
okay.
just go out and just have fun. I mean,
All right.
out here, no taps. There's a lot of people who run a no tap. They'll put them on a house shot, so it's pretty much a crapshoot. You're either gonna bowl good or you're gonna struggle and just have fun. It just that's all I do is if I'm going to a no tap and it's only for like $500-600, I'm just gonna go and have fun. I'm just gonna enjoy
Okay.
myself.
All right. What are you binge watching right now?
We were watching Suits. My wife binge watched the whole series, the 9 seasons that they had. I want to say in like 3 months.
Okay.
She works from home, so when she does get her little downtime, she'll watch something. Or when I come home from work, right now, I get off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll put on an episode, watch it. I think it's Suits, and then our shows that we normally watch during the week when they're on is like The Rookie. She'll watch Grey's Anatomy, and I'll watch them with her. She's actually texting me now, so she's probably going to remind me of some.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me. All right. What's your favorite weather season?
Summer. Love
Okay.
summer.
All right.
I used to be 370 some pounds.
Okay.
And I hated winter, or I hated summer. I loved winter.
Right.
And now I had my heart attack. I've lost all this weight, and I can't stand winter. I hate it. So
can I ask how much you lost?
I'm down 100, and from my heaviest, I'm down 140 pounds.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you. That is awesome. What food would you not try if somebody gave you $1 million?
Seafood.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Don't even want to try it.
Nope. No, absolutely not. All right. So, if you could have dinner with 3 people living or past, who would they be?
My grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, Grandpa Mars. My grandma Maine. And I'd probably say Dick Weber.
Oh, he would have some great stories.
Yeah, he when I first came out on tour, he used to talk to me and help me a lot and calm me down. I remember one regional, I was in the cut for cash, and I bowled like a 140 game and kind of got upset. And I'll admit I cried. And he came up to me and he was like, "There's nothing to cry about. You know what's going to happen." He goes, "You know how many times I've done it? You know how many times the greatest in the world have done it?" He goes, "It just happens." He goes, "You get on a bad pair, it happens." So
you cried because you didn't cash, or
yeah, because I was young. I was like 21, 22 years old.
Sure.
And my first 3 regionals that I bowled, I cashed in. I led the third one. We were in Iowa. And I led after the first round, and then we got to Sunday, and I completely bombed. But I still cashed. And then the next week, we bowled in, I want to say, Springfield, Illinois. And they put out a short pattern. And I wasn't familiar with short patterns to where you play the outside. I tried playing the middle part of the lane and was upset with myself because I wasn't learning. I was just trying to do something that nobody else was able to do and trying to prove people wrong instead of listening to people. And I got upset with myself.
Yeah. All right. So if you're dying of thirst, you just need something to drink. Oh my God, give me something to drink already. What is your go-to beverage?
Sugar-free Gatorade or a Diet Pepsi. See?
There you go.
Got my Diet Pepsi.
There you go. Nice.
Yep. Gatorade is usually what I try to go to, but there's just times you just want a soda.
Well, Diet Pepsi has no calories.
Yeah, but it's
no sugar.
They say it's not good for you, but tastes good going down, just like a beer would for some people.
Yeah. How do you want to best be remembered when you leave this earth, Jerry?
Somebody who cared.
Yeah.
I have a big heart. I want to see the best for everybody. I don't care if you've done me wrong. I don't care if we've had a bad past. I want to see everybody do good. I just want to see everybody succeed and have the best that they can have.
Yeah. How'd you get the nickname Mooney?
Money.
Oh, Money. Jesus. Okay.
Yep, Money.
Wow.
I did a ball video for DV8 back in 2014, I think it was.
Huh?
And they had asked me for a nickname, and I'm like, I don't know. I was like 10 back. And we'll let you know. So then I showed up for it, did the ball video, and when the video came out, they decided that Money Mars was what it should be. So that was my DV8 name, is Jerry Money Mars.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, buddy, for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Next week we got Tennille Grijalva Milligan. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. I hope you had fun, and thanks for doing this. This has been Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Buddy, have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too, man.
All right, buddy. Bye.
All right.